We're going to start today by playing a game. I'm going to flip a coin, and you're going to call it while it's in the air. Now the question is, did you win or lose? You don't know, because I haven't told you, is it heads or is it tails? But the other part of that is you don't know, because what constitutes winning? Is it getting that correct answer that it's heads or tails, or are we playing a different game? Were you supposed to count how many times the coin flipped in the air? You don't know, because I never told you the rules. But what does this have to do with disc herniations? In most cases, whenever we have an injury, we know what we're supposed to expect. If you break a bone, you're going to hear it snap, and then shortly thereafter, you're going to start experiencing pain, and then as it heals, it's going to ache. And whenever that muscle finally starts to work again because you come out of the cast, it's going to be weak. If you accidentally cut yourself with a knife, you're going to know that you're going to have a sharp pain, and then that pain is going to subside, probably throb for a little bit, but so long as you don't pick that scab, it's going to go away. But when it comes to a disc bulge or herniation, the symptoms can be anything from weakness in the muscles that nerve innervates, it can be burning on the skin that nerve runs through, it can be pins and needles, or complete numbness. And on the offhand chance that all that happened was you experienced a disc bulge and no other structures were affected, we still need to consider that symptoms might change as that disc begins to heal and that nerve irritation begins to subside. But just like not knowing the rules in that coin flip game, not knowing the symptoms of how that nerve is going to respond and how that disc is going to heal can be one of the most frustrating parts of recovery. That's why today we're going to be talking through signs and symptoms that you are actually experiencing a medical emergency, when you might just be experiencing further irritation of the nerve affected by a disc bulge or herniation, and when your symptoms that feel like things are getting worse might actually be a sign that you're getting better. But first things first, if you've already been diagnosed as having a cervical disc herniation and would like a step-by-step guided recovery blueprint, go on into the description and check out the free module for the cervical disc recovery blueprint. In that program, I'll be showing you exactly what I would be doing in the office from day one after experiencing a cervical disc injury, all the way out to fully recovered and able to navigate your environment without pain, dizziness, or worry about re-injury. So if you would like to kickstart your recovery for absolutely free, go on down into the description and download that link, but otherwise, let's get back to the video. With any injury, the first thing that we want to do is make sure that it's nothing intense that requires immediate medical attention. So in the case of cervical disc injuries, these are instances where the wait and see method is really going to cause problems. It happens all the time where people are coming to the office, they've already waited a week or two, and they have a symptom that probably should have sent them to the ER as soon as it happened. Now these 3 red flags for disc herniations are saddle paresthesia, worsening numbness or weakness in an extremity, so your leg or your arm, and loss of bowel or bladder function. Now, saddle paresthesia is where you have numbness or altered sensation anywhere where you would be making contact with a horse saddle, so basically your inseam, your groin, and your butt. Worsening numbness or weakness would mean if originally that numbness was just your shoulder and now it's going from your shoulder down the back of your arm, that's an increase in the area affected by that disc bulge or nerve irritation. Similarly, increases in weakness would be originally having a hard time picking up something like a gallon of milk, and now having a hard time picking up your toothbrush. And finally, loss of bowel or bladder function, which I like to think is pretty self-explanatory. But if you're having any of those 3 symptoms, this isn't a matter of waiting to see if it gets better, you need to go to a hospital. Hopefully most of you are saying, cool, I don't have any of those symptoms. I must be fine and I can just stay at home, keep watching TV, and I don't need to do anything about this disc injury. And this feeds into what I said initially at the beginning of this video. Disc injuries are a pain in the butt to navigate because just because you don't have rapidly worsening symptoms which would send you to an ER doesn't mean your symptoms might not get worse before they get better. Super annoying, right? But Dr. Beck, didn't you just say if my symptoms start to spread, I should go to a hospital? Yes, I did. But just because symptoms are progressing doesn't necessarily mean you need to rush to the hospital. If symptoms are progressing over the course of minutes to hours, yeah, you definitely need to go. But if slowly the numbness travels from your thumb to your index finger, let's just say over the course of a day or two, that's normal. Frustrating as hell, but normal. Which means for you, even though your body is doing its best at recovering and healing that injury, that nerve becomes more and more agitated, leading to slowly worsening numbness, slowly worsening weakness, and increased nerve irritability. So the same way that something can get on your nerves figuratively, let's just say loud music in the background, a constant exposure to a chemical irritant can make a nerve more excitable. So, whereas normally you can bump your hand off a table and nothing bad happens, if you've had a cervical disc herniation for a couple of days and you bump your hand off that same table, it might send pins and needles the whole way up your arm for a matter of minutes. And this is very concerning, especially if you've never had a disc bulge or herniation before, because you wonder, where is that line between, is this too much damage and do I need to go to a hospital right now? My rule of thumb whenever picking between the red flags or just a concerning symptom is always err on the side of caution. Because yes, it is very frustrating to go to a hospital writhing in pain, you can't feel your legs because you just had a disc herniation, and all they do is they give you some muscle relaxers and send you home with a bill. That annoys the absolute crap out of me. But I would much rather you go to a hospital, get checked, make sure that all they're going to do is give you a muscle relaxer, and then find out you're not going to be injured long term, rather than waiting 2 or 3 weeks and then finding out that you have an entire section of that brachial plexus or your lumbar plexus that's now permanently damaged. So if you're on the fence of, my hand's getting more numb, but I can't really tell if it's fast enough to go to the hospital, just be safe. But Dr. Beck, I have a predicament because it's not so much that the numbness is getting worse, but it's moving around a lot. What does that mean? It means that nerve irritation sucks, because whereas spreading numbness or weakness is a sign that your disc symptoms might necessitate medical attention, the fact that the pain is moving around might actually be a sign that your symptoms are improving. No, I am not kidding. And if you're thinking to yourself that you're going to throat punch me because I can't give you a straight answer, I completely understand. This is part of the most frustrating thing with dealing with disc herniations. The overlap between something being benign and nothing to worry about and something being pretty intense and you need to get to the hospital now is thin. Or in worst case scenarios, it's counterintuitive. Because if I'm playing devil's advocate here, the odds of a disc bulge or herniation happening in isolation are slim. When a disc herniates, the muscles are going to spasm, the joints are going to stiffen and swell, the nerve is probably going to get a little overstretched and irritated, and that entire jumble is going to give you a bunch of mixed signals. As a practitioner, that's part of the fun, is figuring out, is this coming from disc pressure? Is this pain coming from muscle spasm? Is it coming from nerve tension and swelling? And for you, as the patient, the fun part is realizing that as one of those irritants goes away, a different irritant might become more noticeable or prevalent, and you think your symptoms are changing and getting worse, when in reality it's a sign they're getting better. And the best example I can give you about this is thinking about house projects. Let's just say you realize one day that your roof is leaking. And so after panicking, you get all the resources together and you fix that up and you get the house patched up so it's not leaking anymore, and that problem is gone. But you realize then that from the roof leaking, it shorted out some of your circuits upstairs, and a few of those outlets aren't working. That problem has probably been there since the roof started leaking, but it wasn't your main concern. When you first herniate a disc and you have a lot of pressure in your neck on that brachial plexus, the most concerning thing would probably be weakness in that upper extremity. But once that weakness starts to go away because that bulge isn't putting as much pressure on those nerves, you start feeling that pins and needles or altered sensation in your fingers, and that makes you think this is getting worse, when in reality, that tingling is actually a sign that you're improving. Annoyed yet? Good. Welcome to the club. And this is usually where I try to ask patients, is the pain becoming more central, meaning closer to your spine, or is it becoming more peripheral, meaning it's going out towards the ends of your feet or the ends of your fingers? And why I like to ask this question is it's a pretty straightforward answer as to whether the pain is centralizing or if it is peripheralizing. Say that 10 times fast. Because whereas centralization lets us know that there's probably less swelling, inflammation, and irritation on a nerve, peripheralization makes us think that there might be more irritation or damage to that nerve further along the axon, or that the symptoms have been going on for so long that we're starting to agitate that nerve to a point where the symptoms are more extreme. But as you can imagine, this is annoying as hell for you as a patient, because you never know if you're actually getting better, if you're getting worse, or if it's just a flare-up. And if you want to know one of the most devastating things emotionally and mentally during recovery, it is a bulging disc flare-up. Usually, these suckers happen right in the middle of the night. You're getting your first good night's sleep in about 3 or 4 weeks. You can find a position that actually allows you to fall asleep and stay asleep, but then somewhere around 2 or 3 in the morning, you wake up and your entire arm is numb, your neck hurts, and you can't lift your elbow up past your shoulder. Again. And for the record, this is frustrating on both ends, both for you as the patient and for your practitioner, because I've been on both ends of this injury and it's awful. Because while you're sleep deprived and in pain and miserable, as a doctor, I have to try to explain to a patient, it's gonna be okay, you just need to get through it mentally, as this takes time to recover. Because as we've talked about in previous videos, discs don't get great blood supply, which translates into they don't heal super fast. And whereas with muscle injuries, maybe you can wait it out and it'll go away on its own, but a lot of the time with a disc herniation, going to a physical therapist, a chiropractor, or even just getting those muscle relaxers from your primary care doctor is enough to take off the edge and help you keep your sanity and get you a few more hours of sleep so that this doesn't wear you down during the recovery process. But additionally, there are some other things that you can do to take the right recovery steps and help bring down that inflammation so that the nerve isn't as agitated, the muscles aren't as swelling, and that disc recovers as quickly as possible. First and foremost, this isn't something you should do, it's something you need to cut out, and it kills me to say this, but stop caffeine. Caffeine is a stimulant, and as that name implies, it stimulates your nervous system. So if something's already agitated, you don't need to give it more energy so that it fires more signals. You need to calm it down. And no, that's not my way of saying you should take a depressant like alcohol, because most of those are going to have sugar, and that sugar is going to further tick off your nervous system. While recovering from any injury, be it a broken bone, torn ligament, or ruptured disc, decreasing the amount of sugars, processed grains, will help your body neutralize inflammation so that it isn't constantly getting excited and hyper-irritable. And that keeps us from burning the candle at one end. But additionally, things that you can do to help decrease inflammation come down to get better sleep, decrease the amount of stress that you're dealing with on a day-to-day. Look at taking supplements that help with recovery, whether those are proteolytic enzymes like Papain or Bromelain. Take some basic vitamins that are going to help with decreasing muscle spasm like Zinc and Magnesium. And then look at food sources or supplements that provide omega-3 fatty acids like fish oil or flaxseed oil, and natural anti-inflammatories like ginger or turmeric. And that sounds like a lot, but trust me, if you are going through a disc bulge or herniation, you don't care, you just want the pain to stop. I've been there, it's a fun time. So much fun that I would rather be uncaffeinated and swallowing about 5 to 7 pills a day just to take the edge off. There's a tiny link probably somewhere around here, and that'll just take you to the same company that I use for all my supplements if you are looking for taking something to help bring down inflammation and recover faster from this injury. But I'll also leave a list of those supplements down in the description just so you don't have to try writing them all down and finding them in the shop. And then finally, I feel like at this stage you should have a pretty good idea as to whether or not you do have a disc bulge, and if you have been diagnosed as having a bulge or a herniation, and you would like to start the recovery process today with something actionable, go on down into the description and check out the full cervical disc recovery blueprint, because in that blueprint we'll be walking you through the steps necessary to take you from day one after an injury all the way to fully recovered without neck pain, nerve pain, and fully confident to go about your day-to-day without risk of re-injury or a flare-up. And with that, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you found this video useful, please leave it a like so it helps more people find the video and helps them to get out of pain and back to making the most out of their one life.